I wish someone did that for me back in the day, because
bullied you better.
No, I know, but I literally said to him, I was like, I saw Spider-Man on your shoes. You love Spider-Man. You don't say Spider-Man's overrated. But it's so easy, to like have something that you really like, or you a belief that you really have, and just it could be one or a couple of people that just all of a sudden it feels like it's easier to just go along with something else. Or in his case, I think he just kind of likes her a little bit. So
he's going through a season.
He'll say whatever he wants.
Maybe he can he'll say whatever he can fix her.
That would be
fix her. Oh no!
Wow, an 8-year-old. Okay.
Whoa! No, I'm not the bad guy in this one. She's the one that says Spider-Man's overrated.
She's the bad guy. Pretty
I'm
clearly.
Sorry that you think the most popular superhero of all time is overrated.
That's actually a debate. That is Spider-Man the most popular? Or is he more?
Yes, he's made the most money. He's the most well-known.
Really?
I think then
would Batman be close?
Yeah, because it's
Spider-Man No Way Home literally made over $1 billion.
Ours too.
Dang.
Yeah,
I don't think any Batman movie has made that at all.
The Dark Knight made, I think, 1.5 back in 2000.
Okay.
Dollars.
With inflation, that's like 10.
I think so definitely Batman is like the rival to it, but no doubt Spider-Man is he's just the most merchandisable.
Well, actually, that's not. Do you know what entertainment prop? I've read this recently. Okay. It's Pokemon, actually. It's
I'm talking about superheroes, though.
I know it's Pokemon, and then it's Spider-Man or Batman, and then Mickey Mouse. It's somewhere
and
like
then Jesus Christ somewhere over there.
Oh, he's not in the top 10 anymore.
Dude, the Bible. Yeah. Oh, I don't have my necklace on. I was gonna say that's.
Can we talk about the Bible for literally less than a minute?
Is Spider-Man in the Bible?
Maybe. Yeah. Have you read either?
He could potentially walk on water.
Yeah.
Because
that's a superpower.
So he can potentially walk on water because his sticky hands is actually, depending on what continuity we're looking at, is electricity. It's electromagnetic. That's like why he can stick with his feet even though he's wearing shoes. Because he controls that.
There are some spiders that just can go across water, like water striders or whatever.
Yeah. When did you get into Venom, Tristan? When did Venom, was this, because you mentioned the comic thing.
I think it was very much right around the same time as Spider-Man, because right around the time I got into Spider-Man, like I said, was like 2001, 2002. Around the same time, a video game came out, which was Ultimate Spider-Man, which, if you're a Spider-Man fan, you know exactly which game I'm talking about.
Which console?
I believe it was... I switched off between GameCube and PS2. So you play as Peter Parker Spider-Man, but then you also got to play as Eddie Brock Venom. And that Venom was actually closer to the movie one that we have now than the ones that we see in the comics, because that video game was based on the Ultimate Spider-Man comic book line, which was a different continuity that just helped bring audiences to a new version of Peter Parker.
Because they rebooted the different continuity and just said, hey, this is a separate continuity. Didn't do the multiverse for a couple of years. Because the multiverse starts in the 2010s, I think.
Technically the multiverse was always a thing.
Sure.
Because decades ago with DC, they did their whole thing. But no, because Venom, for me, Spider-Man and Venom were always one and the same with each other. I knew about the character.
Oh yeah, because you were born in the 90s.
1997.
So you were born into a world where Venom already was a thing. Because he comes.
Oh yeah, you didn't have that.
Yeah. I'm older than you, as we've established. In Secret Wars, 1984, before I was born, Tristan.
Okay, we're getting a range now. He's still being cagey, but we're getting a range.
Yeah. I'm fine to give you a range. I know I'm older than you too, but you're older than I expected.
You two, the band, or what?
You two, Bono. Yeah,
I've been waiting to make him laugh this whole time.
All I want you to do for the rest of this podcast is. It's not that hard?
Yeah, it's not that hard to make me laugh.
Yeah, okay.
You find everything amusing. It's different to get an LOL, okay?
Secret Wars, continue, friend.
Then Venom doesn't come back until the 90s. You say nerd? Nice. When did you get into Venom? Was it before or after the t-shirt there, David Alvarado?
It was the video game that Venom was a part of.
Okay, yes, you said that. Thank you.
Spider-Man.
Which was Spider-Man.
And then, eventually... a friend of mine got me that t-shirt, and I realized I was the coolest man who had ever lived. And then I've not, Venom, it sort of has not been a part of my life until literally within the last 26, 27 hours, I watched all 3 Venom movies.
What was watching those first 2 like, and was your wife around?
She watched part of Let There Be Carnage with me, and she was like, what the fuck is this shit? And now, after seeing all of them, I'm like, all right, well, that one was just like, to me, my perspective, by far the worst of the three.
Oh boy!
Whoa,
Yes! Yes, you disagree with somebody.
We'll get to that. Oh, this is very exciting now. When the first one came out, which was like 2018 or something.
2018, I remember.
Right at that time, I think it was kind of right when I was maybe getting a little like CGI fatigue. You know what I mean? Like there were so many superhero movies.
Did you see Infinity War that year? When all the snap happened?
I mean, for sure I saw Infinity War, yeah. And I think, I was very excited. And so that was kind of its own tangential thing over here. And honestly, I remember seeing a trailer and being like, Tom Hardy's going to do comedy? I don't know about that. Like, he's so aloof, you know. And
you were saying that during Venom?
Like when I saw when I saw like a trailer, because I remember way back then I saw it
before that.
Which one are you thinking of there?
This is War, I believe, where it's him.
Oh,
that movie
and
Chris Pine are secret agents. Yeah.
That bombed.
I saw that movie.
Did it bomb?
Yeah,
I'm sure
I watched
but
it.
like that was comedy, right?
Action comedy.
You could say he did comedy in there. I think Chris Pine and how am I blanking on her
Reese
name?
Witherspoon.
Thank you, Reese Witherspoon. I think they kind of carried that movie in the comedy department.
Nope, that's right.
Tom Hardy was like maybe a little more serious in there, but genuinely, I was like, he's. And by the way, I love Tom Hardy. I think he's such a good actor. But I remember just seeing a trailer and writing it off, which is a bad habit that I used to have that I'm trying to rectify. Because there's a lot of things that I would just be so decisive and
I
be
think
like, no,
trailers
not
are
for
a
me.
good way to do that, though. That's like literally the point. And
I guess, yeah.
And if you get like a company that represents the movie poorly, that's also the company that's making the movie. So like, especially when we start talking about the Venom movies themselves, Sony, terrible track record with their trailers to movies.
Sure.
Give examples. We're talking about it.
Essentially, the entire, what do they call their universe? The Spider-Man universe characters or whatever, where it's all these Spider-Man characters. Though
the
all
SCU?
The Venom, yeah, it's like, it's Venom, it's Madam Web, it's Kraven, it's Morbius. If you look at all those trailers, they just reveal the entire movie, or they lie to you. They film scenes.
You're saying Madam Web?
I've seen Madam Web.
No, but they lie to you in Madam Web because you think you're going to see these, what do you call them?
4 Spider-Women, but they never
3
actually...
Spider-Women.
Isn't it 4?
Well,
I guess
Madam Web, does she not count?
I count. And then Venom itself, they definitely try to tease things, including their big guy, Spider-Man, who is not in these movies, technically.
I guess you do see a Spider-Man picture in the back of Morbius. And
in the trailer.
In the trailer, but not in the movie.
Yeah.
Did you guys see that movie?
Yeah, I didn't see that.
It looked just so terrible.
If you went to the Rumble seats at the
40X?
Dolby...
Oh.
No, the when you go, in Dolby, the seats kind of rumble. That made it somewhat enjoyable. I'm also...
They were shaking your butt a little. You liked that.
I like my butt being shaken while
that's the only
hits
thing.
were happening.
That's the only thing that got you through Morbius was them shaking your cheeks a little.
No, it was terrible. But Tristan, what Venom movie do you think is the best?
Between the 3, Venom Let There Be Carnage, which is the second one. Can I talk about the character Venom first before we get into it?
Please, yeah.
I want to talk about the comic book. All 3 movies, they kind of suck. And let me talk about this.
Boo.
Coming from a comic book standpoint, do you guys know where the name Venom comes from? Why he calls himself Venom? So in the comics, Peter Parker originally has the Venom symbiote, just known as the Black Suit. At the time, he had a rival reporter, Eddie Brock. Peter Parker and Spider-Man would just constantly kick Eddie Brock to the curb, make sure he doesn't get his news reports and all that. Eventually, Peter Parker / Spider-Man rejects the symbiote. The symbiote finds Eddie Brock, and through an entire issue, this mysterious character is like just punishing Spider-Man. You don't know who it is until the reveal is it's Venom. It's the Venom that we know. But when Venom / Eddie Brock fight Spider-Man for the very first time, the line is, "We are poison to Peter Parker and Spider-Man. We are Venom." So that's where that comes from. So, like, context-wise, it completely makes sense why he's coming up with the name Venom. In this movie, he is like, my name's Venom.
Well, but here's a question, because that makes it seem like Venom must be relative to Spider-Man,
which he does.
Okay. So
but
that's almost a different conversation. Is that more how you feel of like Venom shouldn't be a standalone?
So
thing?
okay, yes. So I know there's going to be different opinions about this. When you say favorite Spider-Man villain, Venom is one of the top ones that you say. You say Doc Ock, you say Green Goblin. Sometimes you even see Kingpin. Venom. The reason I love him, besides the fact that he is just like a monster version of Spider-Man, is the hatred he has for Peter Parker and Spider-Man. A lot of these other villains, they hate Spider-Man, so therefore or they just hate Peter Parker once they find out. This villain has a reason to hate them both. It also gives him a reason why he has the spider symbol and why Venom shoots webs in the comics and almost any other continuity. But then in these movies, you never see him shoot a web. He does tendrils, but that's because he has the alien parasite. By these Venom movies, they take out what I think is a key component of the Venom character, which is the hatred for Spider-Man. That being said, in the last, I would say, decade, the Venom character has slowly drifted away through Spider-Man. Like Eddie Brock got the symbiote back. Even Flash Thompson, we were talking about that, has the symbiote. Not related to Spider-Man. He just happens to shoot webs now, and he has the suit, but he's not an enemy of Spider-Man anymore. And that worked because he was just a cool character. At some point, he even grew wings, which is really cool. So I can totally respect that. I know that's what the movies were going for as well. But then they even use the character of Eddie Brock. And they even say it in the first movie where he's a reporter and he's disgraced because of X, Y, and Z. So the fact that Spider-Man's just not relevant to that just really hurts. Because I think you take away half of the reason that Venom's a cool character. Because now, he doesn't even have the symbol. He doesn't have the iconic symbol that we all have the t-shirts of, like you were saying. He is just this monstrous black form that potentially has Spider-Man-like eyes, because you got to do that somehow.
I've got a counter to that.
Yeah.
In movies context, and I my comic counter, which wouldn't really play until we talk about Last Dance, would be like the King in Black series. Spider-Man isn't as essential to fighting Null as the Venomverse is. Not Venomverse, excuse me, but the different Venoms that exist. Riot, Venom, etc. Scream, that's another one. See, I know Venoms. As I try to watch movies three ways. Like, as myself, as somebody like my mom who doesn't give a, rat's ass about any of this. That's exactly how she'd phrase it. She would not. She's very, I grew up very religious as well. Not as religious, because there were people in my church who were like you, but we were not those folks, and I made very clear to my parents that I would not live in this. I did not get adopted into this family, away from my Farx family, for this. So to me, the metaphor of what Venom is in these movies is like, we all have this inner voice that it has intrusive thoughts and that sort of thing. So Venom in these movies, for people who don't give a shit about comic books, don't give a shit about all the things you just said, which I agree with, and is knowledge that's hard, metatextual, hard not to take into the movie. It's someone dealing with their inner voice. Actually, my friend, our fourth Farx, Ben Farx, said when I was seeing Venom The Last Dance before, I put it in the rundowns, and I'll read his quote exactly, because this is what he said on Monday night to me about all the Venom movies. He said, "One man's homoerotic battle with his own intrusive thoughts." And for me, it's just, when he's talking to himself, I talk to myself. My wife tells me I do. Does your wife tell you if you talk to yourself?
I do, but not. I do more so if I'm needing to hype myself up for something, or if I'm mad at myself, whatever, not just common practice. My wife talks to herself a lot. It happens all the time. I'll be like, "Sorry, what was that?" And she's like, "Oh, I was literally talking to myself." I'm like, "Yeah, but you're saying it out loud. I'm in the room with you. I'm not going to be like, oh, just ignore you, because then that's a problem." So she'll be just literally say a full sentence, and I'm like, I'm so sorry, honey, I couldn't hear you. And she's like, "I was talking to myself." I'm like, "Okay."
She's probably not mad at you. She's probably mad at herself, because I do that, and then I'm talking. No, I'm not mad at you. I'm mad at me for talking to myself in front of people.
I think it's adorable until I don't.
So, Kyle,
thank you, Tristan.
100% bring up a good point. You say you come from three minds. I also come from three minds. When I'm watching all these MCU movies, I love coming in with that comic book background that's not everyone has. I'm that Easter egg, that's Toxin. I know what's happening here. But then as a filmmaker, I got to come in from the filmmaker perspective of first of all, that story literally does not make sense. You broke your continuity from one movie to the next. So I come from that mind as well. That was just a really good shot. That VFX is really nice, that kind of thing. But then also I come in as someone that just wants to eat popcorn and watch a movie. And that's what I did with all three Venom movies. So I appreciate it in that sense. So I had a good time watching these movies when I was in the theater. But the further away I am from that experience, the more the filmmaker aspect comes in, where I'm like, these guys are it feels like they're wasting our time and our intelligence. So I'm completely taking the comic book element out. That's just to start with. Cool, we have all these. Anyway, let's talk about the actual stories.
So as filmmakers, let's argue why you think 2 is the best,
Let There Be Carnage.
Let There Be Carnage is the best. And David, which is your favorite of the three?
Again, this is so funny because I just watched all of them.
I know. It's very funny to me.
I always love an origin story.
So you like
an origin story is so exciting, but I think I would maybe say no, I don't know. I like the first one. I like the first one. I think that Last Dance was really good. Or again, really good is relative, not to like films overall, but because to me it's all about expectations. My expectation was, after all these years that they've been out without watching them, was how are they going to be as fun comic book action movies? So just looking at it as fun, not as like a piece of art or something, like not as something that's going to stand the test of time, even like The Dark Knight, you know what I mean? Like that's a comic book movie. That's like a different thing. It's got more weight to it.
That's
like
a film by itself.
Yeah, right, exactly. Like
Capital
this, like
F
I
word.
knew it was going to be a little goofy and silly just from even having seen trailers and stuff. I think I would say I liked the first one the best.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to.
No, go ahead.
That's interesting because you brought up something that I think is exactly the reason I pick Venom: Let There Be Carnage. You brought up just fun superhero comic book movie, and between the three movies, I think that is Venom: Let There Be Carnage. We just had the first Venom play the whole background. I am reading the subtitles as it's going by, and I do not feel that with the first one.
I'm gonna ask Kirk which is his favorite now.
The Last Dance. I thought that was a lot better. They had a lot more fun, I want to say, but even The Last Dance, it wasn't that good either as a movie, but I think it had a lot more going for it than the other two.
I notice everyone keeps on saying that. They're like,
Yeah.
okay, besides the fact that none of these are good movies,
Such a
let's
funny
bring
thing to
this
say.
up.
Screw all three of you, but also thank you guys for sitting one on my left, two in the middle, and three on my right. So it's real easy from co-hosting perspective to keep track of who's on what side. I saw Venom 1 with my wife because she had a movie chain's monthly subscription. I don't like saying what it is until they sponsor us. That made it so that she didn't care about the tickets to the movie, and also she just liked going to the movies. I think the thing that sold her was that it wasn't too long. She had fun. She didn't need to know about a bunch of other movies, and they had an Eminem song at the end. And when I told her
It is a good song. Like, anytime someone brings up Venom, I think that's literally the first thing they go. How much of the song can we get into?
You can sing what? I don't
Venom,
care.
Venom. Like,
I don't think Spotify is gonna give us shit because of your rendition of
I thought it was pretty good.
It was good. Yeah, Eminem's coming here right now, right after he gets off of a political rally or something.
he drove me here.
He did?
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Did he have spaghetti on his sweater already?
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so you didn't say your favorite.
Yeah,
Venom.
what's your favorite?
Honestly, I like all.
Spider-Man 3.
I did just rewatch Spider-Man 3 with my 4-year-old, and she was very much into it.
I think that'll be a good epilogue to this conversation. To talk about Spider-Man 3 compared to the rest.
I want to talk about the Spider-Man movies too.
Please.
But
What are your thoughts?
but I'm saying like
In
no.
this
But
conversation-
Let there be
I
Venom.
want to know about Let There Be Carnage. I want to hear because like to me it did feel like I love that it's on right now.
It's the shortest of all.
So
But
let me also just say it. Of course, it comes down to what you want and what you're looking for and what is important to you watching a movie. Here's some of the things that are important to me. I hate when things happen that are completely illogical and obviously illogical, which is funny because I'm talking about just like a fun movie, right? The reason why is because when something makes no sense or is like a cringy joke or like those are the things that take you out of it. I'll do an example. Thor: Love and Thunder. I thought that movie was so much worse than Ragnarok. And it was Taika Waititi. Even Chris Hemsworth was like, we jumped the shark, dude. Like, we just were having literally too much fun. The screaming goats over and over again. And they were taking these big swings on stuff that I was like, cool. Here's the problem. You take a big swing and you miss. And now we're all sitting here like, this is fucking awkward now. So like things that, and I loved Ragnarok, which had, I felt like the right amount of the kind of like a silliness and the Taika. Like I love Taika, but Thor: Love and Thunder, I was like, this is too much. And there are certain things that they all kind of, there's different types of things, and I'll give a couple examples. They all come down to the same idea of it'll take you out of it. Something like with the plane and just the rules with the symbiotes in general. In the first one, they established so clear, in the whole like chase and escape, that Eddie Brock does at the beginning when I love a good chasing escape scene. Also, Tom Hardy running looks like the most unnatural thing I've ever seen. I was really impressed with him in a lot of the fight scene, like the hand-to-hand stuff. I thought he did really well.
Well, he's a martial artist, Right?
Yes, but I mean, and
jiu-jitsu.
plus he's just, I mean, he's a jiu-jitsu guy, but he's also done so many fight scenes over the years. Him like trying to do the escape, I was like, oh shit. I'm going on a
he's a
tangent.
short neck guy?
No, it's not. It's not just that. It's that
So you acknowledge that. Okay, cool.
he is, yes, but okay, hold on. I got to talk about this now. Sorry,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
because I went here. Obviously, being a punch kick guy, like you said,
Sorry, yeah,
the
you more
action.
than
No,
that.
I love it, but the action is very important to me,
Duh.
and I have kind of my own philosophy that I'm starting to build around how to design good action. And trust me, not there yet, but one of the things is you have to have a good first impression. Whatever the first moment of action is, put more weight on that than other stuff. Like make sure it's good, because when you make a good first impression, people are more likely to forgive other stuff later. And in the first Venom, what was interesting is the first action was him escaping after he was first kind of infected by Venom, and that little moment where he's like running down the hallway and he does a little parkour off the there were so many things that were bad with that. Tom Hardy was like, he seemed like he didn't really know what he was doing. Even though it was shot, it was unclear what happened to one of the stunt guys who did a great fall and everything. And then that whole initial chase out into the woods and he climbs a tree and everything, I thought that was all not very good, not very compelling. And it set me off with this bad first impression. And then the scene that we kind of saw was starting to happen earlier in the apartment, that fight scene, I thought was so good. But what was funny was I was like waiting for it to be bad. And then it was really fun. And it was because of that first impression from the chase that happened earlier. But literally, it's just something I've watched all the different movies. When you see Tom Hardy run, it's like, he just looks like he shouldn't be running. It just looks like he just was not made to do that. It looks so weird.
To quote Venom, how does Tom Cruise do it?
Yeah, that's exactly what Venom would say, yes.
He says it in Last Dance.
What?
When they're falling in
I
the
don't
water.
remember him saying that.
Yeah, he says, how does Tom Cruise do it?
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
Funny,
thank you.
yeah, that was good.
Also
Tom Hardy.
I saw it twice, so that's not my
Yeah,
Tom.
yeah.
Well, Tom Hardy does do the Venom voice, but
Sometimes.
Right.
he doesn't do it all the time?
From what I heard, they have another person.
Yeah, they have
doing it as
another
well.
guy doing it.
What?
That's pretty good.
It's me.
So,
But in general, that's a yeah. So we'll come back to that. But yeah, please jump in.
funny, you're saying things that feel like they're going against what your opinion. Because I remember when you first walked in, you did say Last Dance was your top one between the three, and now you're saying first one.
I did. The thing is, I was clearly torn between the first one and Last Dance. Last Dance, it's like recency bias. I just saw it. I had a lot of fun watching it by myself, by the way.
In a theater?
I used to go to theaters by myself all the time because I just thought it was really fun. It was me. There was like 10 of us in there. Which for a matinee was kind of fun.
I just came back from a movie, We Live in Time, Andrew Garfield, the GOAT Spider-Man. I was by myself for that.
Last
Andrew
Dance.
Garfield's not the goat Spider.
thing
Yeah,
is-
he is.
My wife said it was fugly yesterday. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, I'll explain.
Your wife is also married to you. So.
That's damn. That was
Decent bait. Decent bait.
I think that and 3 different directors, by the way. I was looking this up because I was very interested to see, like, was there a consistent vision or not?
There is a consistent writer.
Yes,
Kelly
who
Marcel.
directed this last one. Yes. So I thought there was a lot of great action in this last one, which was one of the things that I liked a lot. I felt like so I think from watching the 3 movies, some of the worst action you'll see is the finale of Let There Be Carnage.
How so?
Okay. One of the things that I love is intercutting between kind of like, it's one big battle, but then there's like this fight that's happening over here and this fight that's happening over here. And what will happen a lot, think like Star Wars or something. You've got Luke and Darth Vader having a lightsaber battle. Wow, this whole other thing is developing over here. And that could be a planet away or it could be a room away. Right? But it's still, I love like cutting back and forth because there's so much opportunity that happens there where like by the time we come back to this scene, anything could have happened.
Do you know what movie that was
time.
invented in? I can't help bringing this up.
Please.
Do any of you not know what movie?
What bring up, like what?
Birth of a Nation. That was the first
Just
movie
the
shown in
idea
the White
of
House.
intercutting?
Yes, the technique of showing two things that are going on parallel to one another and cutting back and forth between each other. And I can see from your face you are unaware of this. Birth of a Nation is a KKK movie.
Oh, God.
Yes. So that was the thing you described, and I don't...
Thanks for saying that soon. I was about to be like, that sounds like the coolest thing ever.
So I might. You actually,
a lot of theater people would be like, it has been a big thing in like very old plays forever. It was like we're seeing what plays out here and then what plays out there. But yeah, that's like just the whole format. But yeah, please go ahead.
You do actually make a very good point that in Let There Be Carnage, the final confrontation between Venom and Carnage is very much just like we're just kind of slapping each other back and forth. Whereas in the first movie, it is Venom versus a different symbiote who are slapping each other back and forth.
Yeah.
And then in the third movie, we get multiple symbiotes and multiple enemies. So I can definitely get how the second one final fight can be.
You know what's interesting about it though is that the FB was the initials. I forget the character's name. The screen like Shriek.
Oh yeah.
Oh sure.
Yeah,
it's just something.
When she and by the way, what an underutilized character. The I feel so bad I don't know the actor's name, but the guy who plays like the cop.
Oh, the
Mulligan. I don't know.
Mulligan.
His name.
Yeah, Mulligan.
Yeah.
What is that? What is Mulligan's name?
I don't know.
I think he's a New York theater actor.
He plays like Al Capone on Boardwalk Empire.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
legit. He's such a good actor. I think he was crazy underutilized in that movie.
Yeah, they killed him in the second one, and it's in the trailer that he's in the third one. So
Well,
we're still in the
not even
non-spoiler.
spoiler, yeah.
We're
We're doing non-spoilers?
We're still in non-spoiler.
Can I jump back in?
Yes, yeah, please go ahead.
So you're bringing up action as a big reason for why these action movies are good and bad, which is completely fair. I understand what you're saying. But for me, it's the story. I think the story in the second one is way more simplistic than these other ones. First one is about an organization bringing symbiotes down so they can go to another planet, and these symbiotes go all over the place. And then Eddie Brock, for some reason, gets one, and then he fights this CEO that gets a symbiote. It just feels like a lot, whereas the second one, it is Tom Hardy breaks up with Venom. Also, there's Carnage, who I think out of all the villains in the Venom trilogy is the strongest, because the villain in the first one barely feels like a person. There's not really a villain in the third one. It's just multiple people that are like, we want to take down this guy. Woody Harrelson as Carnage is a dream casting that people have been asking for. I've seen fan trailers for Spider-Man 4.
That's so
for decades.
See, I didn't know that. That's so interesting. Because I was like, why Woody Harrelson?
It does feel random.
When I watched it, I was like, why Woody Harrelson?
He's also a bald man that doesn't have red hair, so that's like
right. I love Woody Harrelson.
No, he's fantastic. And then a lot of people agree that Carnage got a disservice from the comics, but we're going to try to take that away a little bit. We're going to put that away. That comic section, I completely understand that.
Copy that.
It's in his closet.
Carnage felt like an actual fun character for this world, whereas everyone else is like super serious and we need to take down the symbiotes, or I need to get a symbiote.
Well, no, in the first one, he's Elon. What's it called?
Musk?
I was trying to do Jeff Bezos. I was trying to say Elon Bezos, but I fucked the joke up. Okay, he's Elon Bezos. Can you cut it?
Let's go back to one. Yeah.
No, we keep that in.
Here. Let me push back and see what you think, because I think I might be able to sell
Let
you
me
a little
bait
bit
you.
on the story side of things in Let There Be Carnage. Because I think about the Spider-Man movies. In the second one with Dr. Octopus. Yeah, that's all I think about all the time. He is having this internal battle with himself where he loses his powers temporarily, right? Yes. I saw the beginnings of a parallel of that in Let There Be Carnage, right? Which I thought was going to be really interesting. Okay. Here's my problem.
Okay.
All Venom fucking wanted in the whole intro of Let There Be Carnage was what? Brains. That's all he talked about. I want food. All I want to do is eat food. I'm a predator. I'm a hunter. You won't let me eat brains. Then when they finally split,
he doesn't do any of that.
He goes to a costume party?
Okay.
He's so factualized.
Just to have a moment that I know someone in that writer's room was like, you know, it would be hilarious if Venom went to a costume party and did a mic drop. And by the way, the mic drop, when he does the mic drop, it then gives the high-pitched feedback that has no effect on him whatsoever. And I literally was like, all you've been talking about doing is being free so you can go hunt, and then the one thing you do is go kind of dance around. That's so random. That's not what what we know you want.
I think you're so close. Okay. So,
Wait, how do you explain that? Why did he not go eat brains?
And that's funny because I'm probably the most single person in this room for the past decade. Venom, Let There Be Carnage is a love story between Eddie Brock and Venom. Mm-hmm. And they express that multiple times throughout the film. Yes, Eddie Brock will not let Venom eat brains. Okay, I see that as an allegory for relationships like, you said you would take me to the movies. Okay, you're not taking me to the movies. That's the surface level issue. The main issue, you're not letting me do what I want, or you're not letting us be us.
Yeah.
We don't get the freedom. Yeah. Venom, Let There Be Carnage. Eddie Brock will not let him eat brains. Venom feels like he's just not being listened to. So what does he immediately do? He goes and finds a community of people that accepts him for who he is. Yes, he's not eating brains, but that might be hard for a community to find him. And then they finally get back together at the very end because they need to accept each other, and that's how they're able to beat Carnage, because not thinking about the comic book version, but in the movie, they are not symbiotic. And that's a good parallel to Venom and Eddie throughout this film, because they're like, we actually do need each other, whereas Carnage and Cleus Cassidy are like, no, I want to be with my wife, and Carnage is like, no, he wants to take over the world or whatever he wants to do.
Yes, yeah. That and the thing to me was like, I think because you know so much about the comics, I think you are doing work yourself that the filmmakers were supposed to do. Because those things you're describing aren't really in the movie as much as they, you know what I mean? Like,
I think they are though.
I agree with you that it is when you contrast the two. Of
course they have that moment where they just say it. It's not subtle. It's not built throughout the film. They just say it. They just go, they're a bad match, we're a good match. They say it explicitly. There's no like, oh, look at this thing that we've actually been weaving this whole time. This is, if we watch
they're literally fighting on the screen right now.
Through all three movies,
Venom
of course they do.
Eddie are fighting.
Venom and Eddie are fighting, like they do in all three movies.
Well, they see the relationship to his wife, Cletus Cassidy's wife, so arguably that's building up one side of the relationship between Cletus and Carnage. Carnage's motives as a alien are harder to relate to.
Totally. Carnage almost has a clear motivation of like needing to consume his own father to become his own person. Like that is a very clear.
That felt like you're reading into that one. He just wants to kill him.
When's the last time you watched Let There Be Carnage? It's actually that one's actually.
Did he say he wants to absorb him?
Wait, you think? Wait, Carnage wants to absorb his father?
I didn't say absorb. He needs to.
I thought you just.
I said consume, but almost more metaphorically.
Like
become, the future is like the past has to die first. But that's like kind of clearly his. It's a little bit one track, but they kind of established that from the beginning. This is what I would point to as the biggest missed opportunity of Let There Be Carnage.
Everything.
the scene where Eddie Brock apologizes to Venom and Anne is there because he's in Anne's head.
Yeah, can you explain that scene? I know what you're talking about, but for everyone else.
I was watching it and I was like, why are you not doing like what you could do here? They didn't show us. We didn't get to see, because I get what was supposed to have happened was that Venom realized, I kind of am better when I'm with Eddie. And Eddie realizes, I'm actually kind of better when I'm with Venom. I don't feel like, again, I watched it one time last night into this morning, but I felt like they didn't stick that landing at all. And that whole scene with the apology, it's like, no, we just ended up at exactly the same place we were. And by the way, the thing that Eddie Brock said, because remember, he apologized and he was like, different tone. He wanted him to like say it differently. Felt
forced.
The thing that he finally said that got Venom to agree is he said, I'll let you fucking eat brains.
Yes.
Which was that's where they started. That means they're back right where they started. We didn't get like you going on your little realization, you going on your little realization. We're just back at the same spot where they're arguing about whether or not he's allowed to eat people. To me, I felt like, because I agree, that should be the whole crux of the story, which is part of why I like The Last Dance, is we did get more of the heart, of it with their relationship. That's what should have happened with Let There Be Carnage. And this is a whole philosophy, or not a philosophy, this is a whole like kind of theory I have in general. When there's a trilogy, the second one should be the best. Like The Dark Knight. Because the first one has the burden of setting up the whole story. The third one has the burden of wrapping up the whole story. The middle one should be able to just play, and like it doesn't have that responsibility. And to me, even just the filmmaking of it, characters literally teleport all over the place from scene to scene, and I felt like we never
all three of these
for sure. I felt like we never quite had enough time to land that arc. Like they weren't even gone long enough to see that be all the way completed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, you're definitely making sense. But I feel like with these movies, everything that you're saying applies to all three, but Let There Be Carnage the least, because you're talking about all these characters doing all these things. This one really only has like maybe 3 main characters, whereas like
I have to push back on that because
we got Carnage and Woody Harrelson.
Are we not counting that?
Cletus Cassidy.
Well, I would count him as one, and just like Venom and Eddie.
Sure. Okay, we'll call that one. And then Shriek and Anne.
Yep.
And Dan, by the way, because
he
actually is
Dan
Dan's a character.
He actually comes in like
arc.
No, but in this one, it's a whole thing that he goes on his own little journey because he helps them fight.
Dan's
as
a good
well,
guy.
So that exactly. I actually really like. I did like that when Venom was like.
I was kind of hoping he was going to get the symbiote for at least a second.
That would have been fun.
No, that would have
Dan could never have the symbiote.
But they have.
No one likes you, Dan.
Yes.
Let's even literally just count them: Venom, Carnage, and obviously those include the other guys. And Dan, we'll say not Mrs. Chen, but we'll say
Mulligan.
Okay. That's 5 that are like.
And some of them were already established, so let's go to some of the other movies.
Yeah, okay. Let's go to the first one, because that's before we know anything.
Yep.
Eddie, a.k.a. Venom.
Bad guy Shriek. Or
Bad
not
guy.
Shriek, a riot guy.
That guy.
Elon Bezos.
And
Jenny Slate's character.
Oh, yeah, Jenny
She
Slate.
just like shows up and then dies halfway
oh,
through.
the scientist. Yeah, I thought she was super underused. That's a little bit of a
That's
theme,
the
by the
name
way.
of
It's
the
just
game with the Venom
underused.
Trilogy.
Yeah, just underused characters.
You're asking for something that I don't like. You're asking for some extra scene, but it's not like I feel a piece was missing. I'm sure something was cut out that gave.
This shows like right now we're seeing the first appearance of Carnage, where he's doing a prison riot, not the character, and he's just kicking ass. And I don't feel like we see that with any other villains in this trilogy.
Correct.
I mean,
got me with
the
a little
last
bit of a
dance.
point there. Okay.
Yeah.
Touche.
Because Null's tied up for the beginning of Last Dance. We're not to spoil it. Well,
he's tied
we're
up.
crossing
Are
into
we
spoilers.
going to talk about?
Let's cross into
No,
spoilers.
well, we haven't given any room for Venom: The Last Dance. Would you like to talk about that?
It was just so ridiculous at the end, where they all came together like a bunch of Power Rangers, and they fought these group of monsters that they obviously couldn't beat. So I don't know why they were fighting. Yeah, so I mean, I just
Did
felt
you
like
pick the third movie as yours?
yeah, I did.
Kirk loves
But
it.
He
I
likes
just,
it the best of the 3.
I like seeing the symbiote, so it's a lot more fun to have them on screen and doing all their powers.
And you bring up a good point, and I think my opinions with trilogies is each movie should try their best to elevate the last. So first Venom, okay, we're introduced to Venom and we're introduced to Riot towards the end. Let There Be Carnage, Venom and Carnage are seen throughout the movie. So in theory, the third movie, we have multiple symbiotes at the end, but that is it. They do not show up halfway through the movie. They show up at the very end.
Mulligan's symbiote shows up.
Is he Toxin or is he
No,
Lasher?
he is not.
What,
He is-
what
We can
symbiote
talk about
does he
Sony's
have? Yeah.
inconsistencies, but they specifically say Mulligan, who was in the second movie, who received a symbiote, they say in the third one, his symbiote left him to die.
Yeah,
so they had to throw some random green mermaid one at him. So that's not Toxin.
Okay.
But you notice they say it with ADR.
Yeah.
And that is...
Yeah, they do, don't they? Yeah,
that is
yeah.
Sony's, at least for this Venom trilogy, they're trying to retcon their own movies, or they're trying to prepare for future movies. This is a pro and a con for Let There Be Carnage. At the very end, we get the scene where Venom gets teleported to another universe, and what do we see? We see Tom Holland's Spider-Man on the screen being announced by J.K. Simmons, like, Peter Parker is Spider-Man. And everyone's mind's blown like, oh, Venom's in the MCU. So if we keep that movie as it is, don't talk about any other movie, that scene is amazing, because we finally see the Sony Venom that we've seen for 2 movies get prepared to interact with Spider-Man. And we're so excited for that.
I want to say something about all the different symbiotes. Here's the problem. Okay, so I'm going to talk about something. It's a comic book movie. Not everything has to make like exact sense. Like they don't obey the laws of physics. But what happens is you have to establish things for us to expect, okay? Eventually, you have to establish the rules of the universe that you're in.
What are the rules?
They go so out of their way. They go so out of their way to try to show that it's really important, the bond that you're going to have with the symbiote. And then in the first movie, in the very first movie, that symbiote Riot infects an astronaut, you know, the guy that's kind of like dying dead. What was his name?
Jameson.
Is it Jameson? That's amazing.
Who was a comic book character,
Yeah.
the son of J. Jonah Jameson.
Dang.
Not relevant.
So then immediately transfers to EMT. Pretty flawlessly, by the way. No problems with that bond. Then EMT transfers
Like
it
6 months later.
to the old lady first, and then 6 months later to the young girl. All pretty wildly different demographics of people, by the way, and like no problems with. And then the little girl transfers it to the
Jeff Bezos.
Jeff Musk, Elon Bezos, whatever.
Jeff Musk is even easier.
Jeff Musk is easier, yeah. So and no problems whatsoever. And as I was watching it, again, as I was watching it, I was like, but they just did this whole thing about Eddie and Venom having to like get used to each other, even though they are like a perfect match for each other. That's supposed to be the whole point of the thing. And they keep playing fast and loose throughout the series of movies of like when they can just boink, oh, he's in Anne, and it takes perfectly. Oh, Venom's in Mrs. Chen, it takes perfectly.
So hang on, can I ask what you were considering transfer perfectly?
In the very first movie, we showed when like it seemed like maybe like homeless people that Jeff Musk was like feeding to the symbiotes, you know, to see.
Oh yeah.
They were running through. That was our introduction to the bonding process. Was they were running through them like another one dead, another one dead.
Catch more movie baiters with the Farx Brothers as it returns on Friday morning.